Hey everyone, this is Elias from RevMatch Media. Today we're going to be test driving the 2020 Kia Soul X line. Now, it's awkwardly cold today, or weirdly cold today in Austin, so we're going to jump in this thing and see what makes this such a hot little car. Now, I do want to apologize. Typically our cars, when we demo them, aren't this dirty, but we've had, like I said, a very freakish weather here or very weird weather, keeping it weird in Austin. Here in Austin, we had some snow, we had really bad thunderstorms last night, and we're getting some pretty bad rain today. So it's a little bit dirtier than usual, but no worries, that's what this car is made for. So just get it out there and have fun with it. So with the X line, we have a couple of design differences between the standard one, and to start off, in the front, we have these nice, big, massive fog lights up here, which is a cool little design. I love that. And we have more of the sort of brushed aluminum look trim to the front, and the grille is a little bit different as well from the standard one. And they really accent the very sleek headlight design that the Kia Soul has. Now, coming over here with the X line, we have a little bit of plastic fender sort of overlay on it, and paired up with the 18-inch wheel on here. Now, this is a little kind of confusing with this trim, because my understanding was that this was a little bit more of a rugged or off-road, hence why we have it in this environment here. But unfortunately it's not. I was hoping with the X line and just kind of seeing this design that we'd have a slight lift than the standard one. We'd have maybe a small 18-inch, though it looks great on this. I was expecting maybe a 17-inch wheel with maybe a meteor tire or a grippier kind of off-road tire, and maybe even a four-wheel drive system. That would have been great, even if it's not the best of systems. But just lie to me. Just lie to me and tell me, yeah, it has a four-wheel drive system, and even if it's a tiny drive shaft going to the back and delivering a little bit of power, but lie to me. Because this really, to me, looks like we're gonna go off-roading a little bit, very similar to like the Jeep Renegade kind of feel to that. So something like that. And you know, when we look at the Audi Allroad, granted it's an Audi, but it has that same similar plastic overlay that you think, okay, we're gonna go off-road. Now, when we come to the side, there's a couple of things we want to take a look at that, again, set the X line apart from the base model. The first thing, again, we mentioned were the fender designs, which kind of comes over all the way back here, and we even get a brushed aluminum kind of trim color to it there. This has the hookups for roof racks, so it's a nice little built-in feature if, again, you want a little bit more of a rugged design, which, again, that's the kind of confusing thing with this trim, where it has some of those. It's kind of teasing at you, but it's not there fully. Kia, if you're hearing me out, definitely something that would be cool to have this in a more rugged, kind of, lifted Renegade competitor. Now, when we get to the back, again, we have some still design cues with the brushed aluminum at the bottom. We have our big hatch to open up. Very simple, just a matter of holding it and we can go ahead and open. There's plenty of space. There's tons of space here. And it's a great little vehicle to have road trips and if you need to haul some equipment, like I always do. Now, getting to the inside, one of my biggest pet peeves with power windows is when they have an auto down, but not an auto up. This, unfortunately, doesn't have an auto up. So, yeah. One of the biggest pet peeves. Normally we'd be looking for the push button start, but not on this guy. We actually have to use the old trusty key to get it up and running. And when we take a look at some of the things that it has on here, it's telling us that the trunk is open, and just realize that it is. So definitely cool little, it helps definitely let you know that. And let's go ahead and page through, and we have just some very basic driver info, miles per hour, fuel economy, nothing really exciting, but again, it is what it is. So tire pressures, obviously we need to get running, and we have driver assistances, which, you know, gives us the warning volumes, blind spot safety, which definitely a good thing to have with this car, or just with any car really. So we have the doors, you know, automatically locked, just very basic functions of it, the lights, sounds, convenience, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. And we have analog gauges for our speedometer and our tachometer. Now coming over to the entertainment system, we don't have the premium sound on this. It's definitely something you want to pay for because it's going to make a huge difference from this sound system. And when we come down here, there's actually pretty good space for your phone. So if you have, this is an iPhone 8 Plus, let me just put it in gear. We have an 8 Plus and it fits fairly well with the cable. It's a little snug, but it's got a little space for it, which is always a welcome design. And then we have our different cup holders down here, and you can see all my gear. We have different cup holders here, and we have a fairly good space for just your typical things in here. So now when we get inside and we get to the driving aspect of the Kia Soul, we get into the interior and it's very plastic, but utilitarian plastic in the sense that it's, you know, if it gets dirty, it's going to be very easy to clean. You know, this isn't going for any like real awards of, you know, great luxury design, because that's not what this car is. It's just a simple, you know, you got 4 wheels on a box, pretty cool looking box, but you know, it works. It, you know, with this one, with the X line, this one has the leather wrapped steering wheel and the leather wrapped shifter as well. It's comfortable. I mean, it feels nice. Nothing to, you know, the shape is pretty good. Not a flat bottom, but you know, that's when you start, you know, looking at other cars. But it does the job. I mean, it feels smooth. Nothing heavy to get you tired. Nothing too loose that you don't feel anything. So it really works pretty well. You have your controls. Kind of my gripe with Kia is the knob on the left. It says mode, so I always think, okay, we're gonna change the mode to sport mode on the car, like, you know, in the Kia Soul GT that we drove, or we test drove. But this is actually mode for the radio, so it's a little confusing. But you have your volume, so nothing out of the ordinary. You have your cruise control as well. I really wish we had the volumes in the back of the steering wheel like other cars, because it really is a huge difference. But yeah, I mean, the steering wheel feels good. It's nice and really proportionally sized. And we go to the seats and they're comfortable. I mean, I've done a pretty long haul on the other model, the GT line, and that was comfortable. I mean, this works great. Again, we're not winning prizes here for luxury, but for functionality, definitely. Like I said, it feels great. It gives you nice, comfortable areas to kind of rest your left arm, and your right arm, you can really rest it on the armrest. So it's a very comfortable ride, or very comfortable ergonomics to the car. And this guy, there's plenty of headroom with this, so there's no complaints there if you're taller than I am at 5'7". So if you're hitting 6 feet, you definitely fit in this car with no problem. Now, when we take a look at the ride of the car, it's so smooth. It surprised me at how smooth it was. The previous car we had, we test drove, was the Charger and Challenger, and you know, I was in race mode the whole time for the suspension, so we were feeling everything. So coming over to this was a drastic change, but in a way that I was surprised. It's such a smooth ride. We're not feeling any bumps. The suspension's really dialed in for bad streets, and we've been, you know, driving on some bad streets. it just glides over it. It's such a comfortable ride. I forgot how good this car was. Even at the X-Line trim, I completely forgot how smooth the Kia Soul drove. It's incredible. And now with this one, it's a little bit of a different engine. The other one was a 1.6 liter turbocharged engine that had about 200 and something horsepower, about just a little bit over 200. This is gonna be the 2.0 non-turbo. I believe I saw was about 160 or so horsepower. And this doesn't have like the dual clutch system that the GT has. This has a CVT transmission, or continuous variable transmission. I'm not a fan of those, having a Nissan Versa with a CVT, and it's more of the first generation where you accelerate and it just hangs on the red line, and you know, you're gaining speed, and it's just super noisy. This isn't. So this has the false 6 speeds, so to speak. So it does change RPMs as it gets to the red line, and it's smooth. Again, the power delivery is super smooth. There's nothing that surprises you, because again, at 100 and something horsepower, you're not gonna be thrown, you know, to the back of your seat. But it's smooth. It does what it needs to do, and again, it's just very smooth, and I can really just, you know, accelerate, and you're gonna hear the shift. There's a shift, but it was, and you know, I did gain some speed, but it's super smooth. The delivery is very linear, so I like that. Again, it doesn't scare you or anything like that. The GT though was a different story. GT was definitely a little monster to work with, because it definitely got the tire spinning, and you can get the tire spinning on this, but you have safety things like traction control, and it's a little intrusive, so it does kind of cut off the power significantly. So just be a driver, and in the sense of knowing how to deliver the amount of power to the car. Now again, some of the differences with the GT line compared to the X line. The GT line had a cool little design here on the door that actually had little lights that lit up, and it was a nice little touch. Seeing this one, I was a little disappointed that it didn't have it, but I understand you gotta pay more. And at $22,000, about $600 that this is equipped at, it's such a bargain. It really is. And we're dealing, and I know you're probably thinking, well, $22,000 is a lot of money. It is, but when you start looking at the market and what something like this would fetch in other brands, and you may not get as much. You may not get as much as you do with this. So yeah, so that was one touch that I wish it had, but obviously, you know, you want more, you gotta pay more. And when we come to the stereo system, that's another thing. You want more, you gotta pay more. The stereo system was a little lackluster compared to the unbelievable, or just the incredibly loud and in-your-face rock and roll kind of presence that the GT line had with the Rockford Fosgate system. I think it was like 10 speakers with a subwoofer, and that thing was loud. Our kiddo had so much fun in that car because the speakers were just so in your face, and it didn't need any gimmicky, like, oh, you know, let me make it sound like it's a stadium, or let me put it closer to you and make it feel like, no, it just right out of the, you know, right out of the box, so to speak, you know, no pun intended with the Soul box, but it just worked, keeping everything flat, not changing anything. It was just loud and really good system. So if you have the extra money, definitely that's the option to get. That would be the one to get. Now, when we come in here, the entertainment system, it's not the high-end model with the navigation, but nowadays, do you really need navigation when you have CarPlay in this, or have Android Auto, and you are able to plug in your phone and get your GPS that you love so much on your phone into the system? And it's a fairly size system. I do prefer the system on the GT line because again, it has, you know, it's a bigger, I believe it's a bigger screen. Now you're probably wondering, well, you keep mentioning GT line because I just think it's such a great value, but this is great. This is great. You have a teenage kid that's starting out, you want them to have a good car, you don't want to break the bank. This is a great option because you have all these great things. It's a great feeling car, tons of space. So if he has, you know, things to lug, if he's into sports, you know, he has plenty of space in the back or the back seat. If he has some friends, he can, you know, have plenty of room for the friends. We have some safety things involved here as well. So we have collision warnings, we have lane assist, we have a backup camera that has the warning if there's a car coming, which saved me. So definitely I can tell you it's helpful. But yeah, overall it's such a great feeling car. It's so smooth, and if he or she is needing to really travel long distances, it works well, and you don't have the too much power to get them in trouble, which we all know we like. Now, talking about the back seat, there's plenty of room for real tall adults, and even in the front, there's plenty of room, and it's very comfortable. There's nothing really to desire as far as space. And again, headroom is not going to be a problem. So you have plenty of that. You can see I have the kiddo's back seat there. He had plenty of space. He wasn't kicking my wife in the back of the seat, which definitely gives you, it's kind of our measuring tool of, is there enough space in the back seat? The trunk is fairly big. Not, you know, it's not the biggest, but again, this isn't really the biggest of cars. So you do have a fair size amount of storage in the trunk, but you can always just put the seats down and, you know, put in any other things that you may want in there. The 30 combined city and highway has been great. We've been driving this thing exclusively this week, and we've been trying to put a dent on the gas, and we haven't been successful. We're at a quarter, you know, we're only just a little bit over a quarter down, but it's just really good on gas. And at 27 city and 33 highway, it's definitely the car to have, or, you know, good gas mileage to have when you're, you know, wanting a very economical car with lots of space, some great amenities, because it's got some pretty cool features. And you have your, you know, your college student or your high school student that is working and wanting to spend money on more things more important than gas. So definitely, I would definitely recommend this. Now, coming back to who this car is for, like I mentioned, a college student, a starter family, someone that just needs four wheels but wants something cool, quirky, and fun, or just anyone that just wants just a cool little car. I think it's great. I think it works well. You know, if you're not going to be picky about what emblem is in the front because you want to show off to someone else, this works great. There's no reason why not to go with this. And we've driven other competitors within the same price range, and we like this. We like this because it's, again, I think the biggest thing is just the size. The amount of space you have is just, it's a box, and it's evolved from, you know, the first generation of the Soul and to what we currently have now. I like it. My wife said, hey, if we're not getting a Telluride, I would definitely want this. And she did say the GT line though. So I keep going back to that. But again, I would say give this to your kids and buy yourself the GT line. If you're wanting to have kind of a family of soul, definitely want to get the GT line and max it out. And it's still such a great value because you get just so much. Again, the sound system, the turbocharged engine, the dual clutch transmission, automatic transmission, the wheels, you know, the styling, just that aggressive front, that you get with the GT line. And just the cool little things like the little lights, it's just definitely a bargain to get at the GT line. At the X line, I'd say it's an even bigger bargain because you still get a lot of those things, but at even significantly lower price. So it's definitely worth your money. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed my review of the 2020 Kia Soul X line as much as I've had fun driving it, because it's been a lot of fun. I've been telling all my friends, hey, check this out, I have this one for the week. And people look at me a little bit weird, but once they get in it, have some fun driving around and see how it feels and how it rides, they're definitely sold on the Soul. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. This is Elias with Rev Match Media. Hope you find the right gear.